Hey, everybody, and welcome aboard to Local Matters, where living local never felt so good. Each year, many individuals and civic club organizations from around the world work to improve conditions that plague communities. Conditions such as violence, poverty, lack of health care, hunger, and many others. You see, East Central Alabama's United Way's Day of Action is a perfect example of an organization working to be part of the solution. And when we come back, we're going to find out which community challenge they will specifically address. You know why? Because if it's local, it matters.
Dance. Let me see you move. Baby, love never felt so good. Can't die if it ever could. Not like you. Oh.
Hey, everybody, thanks for joining us. Welcome on back. There's a well known expression that many of you have heard that says if you're not part of the solution, then you must be part of the problem. Well, I have two individuals joining me today who say they are definitely working to be part of the solution, and I am happy to welcome here with me on the set of Local Matters Mr. Shannon Jenkins. He's the director of East Central Alabama's United Way, and also Miss Nancy Lipham. She is an advisor there at Wells Fargo Bank, also a VP, and she's also Anniston's Rotary Club's president, incoming president for this year, guys. So welcome. Shannon, I don't need to welcome you. You're like an old hat here. You've been on many times, and whenever you come, you're always coming with great news and good things about the community. So good to have you. But Nancy, this is your first time, so it's good to have you here on Local Matters as well. You're coming here to really talk about some great things that Rotary is doing and working together and working in tandem with the United Way. So, Shannon, you've got this big day coming up, August the 14th, where this is this huge big day of action that's going to be taking place. From what I understand is you guys have got two events that are sort of immersed into one event. Tell me a little bit about that.
That is exactly right. So we used to do just a campaign kickoff to signify our annual giving campaign with United Way every year. That was kind of a sit-down luncheon and
Right.
just folks coming together to listen to us talk and tell about what's been going on with United Way and in the community and what was coming up. So our idea was to take our kickoff and combine it with a day of action,
Right.
with a day that our community could come together and do something hands-on that would impact our community and make a difference. And we thought that what better way to kick off the annual United Way campaign than a hands-on event that really is making a difference in our community.
Wow, to combine those two together.
Right.
Now, and as I mentioned during the opening of the show, is that you guys are going to be, with this particular day of action, really addressing some specific challenges in the community. And we've got, we're no different than any other community from around the country where there are a lot of different challenges that communities face. It could be violence, it could be poverty, lack of health care. I know that the poverty is an issue here in the community. And so you guys are working to sort of address that.
That's right. We are local. We are a local United Way located right here in Calhoun County.
Right.
And when you look at our poverty rates here in Calhoun County, over 23,000 individuals right here in our backyard are living in poverty.
Yeah.
That leads to food insecurity and hunger. There are over 20,000 individuals that are food insecure. What's even sadder about that is over 6,800 of our children are food insecure. And so these are families that really are living in crisis every day. Our United Way we're continuing to help with the tornado efforts in Jacksonville. And the great thing about, I say, not the great thing, the beautiful thing that
Right.
happens in a disaster and in a crisis is that we stop seeing political agendas and color, and you start viewing folks as human beings.
And it's funny you said that. I don't mean even to interject, but
Sure.
when you said political, it just got me to thinking a lot of times people don't want to talk about hunger
Right.
or poverty because it is messy.
Right.
It can be very convoluted and it can be political. When
Correct.
you say, okay, well, why do we have so many people in a community that are suffering? Why is that? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that what we have to realize is just like not taking away anything from the folks that have been through the disaster of a tornado or an event like that. However, those that are living in hunger every day and living in that poverty, they are experiencing crisis every day. And when you are a family struggling and you're trying to figure out every day how you're going to feed your children, you don't have a whole lot of time to figure out anything else.
That's true.
And so, being able to ease that burden through an event like Day of Action, that can replenish our local food pantries that are doing good in our community and making sure folks have something to eat and something on the table. That gives folks who are living in poverty a chance to think about their job skills, writing resumes, looking for a better job.
Yeah.
It's just baby steps sometimes, but it's just about the community coming together and helping those who need it the most.
And when you say the community coming together, I mean, really, Nancy here, the president of Rotary, Anniston's Rotary Club. Rotary, it's no secret that one of Anniston's first oldest civic clubs. But Shannon, you told a great story a few minutes ago with the Nancy and I that we didn't realize this long-standing union that the
That's
United
right.
Way has with
That's right.
the Rotary Club. Share with our viewing audience, if you don't mind.
So our United Way here locally was birthed from a vision from the local Anniston Kiwanis Club and the local Anniston Rotary Club.
Okay.
And what happened in their earliest years, they would have drives to raise funds, and they would use that money to help needy children at Christmas. And they looked at each other, I think, and said, hey, we're both doing the same thing. Let's get together and let's collaborate, and we can do this better. That actually turned into the United Givers Fund. And as that fund grew, they recognized that, hey, we need somebody, that'll take this over, and it'll be a year-round effort, not just at Christmas like we're doing, because there's
Right.
need year-round.
Right.
And that led to United Way of Calhoun County, that is now United Way of East
Wow,
Central
what a
Alabama.
wonderful historical
Absolutely.
lesson.
So, our
really,
earliest foundations are in the local civic
in the
clubs here.
local civic clubs. And here we are again. When we come back, we've got to go break. When we come back, because I want to talk more about Rotary's contribution to this big day of action when we come back. And of course, I want to, Nancy is here. She's also we're going to talk about Nissan, Benton Nissan, the major presenting sponsor of this big day of action. So when we come back, we're going to talk about that. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Local Matters, where living local never felt so good. I'm Dottie Rimpsey, and I'm joined here on the set of Local Matters with two individuals who are really making a real big impact in our community. They really need no introduction. I'm talking about Mr. Shannon Jenkins. He is the president of East Central Alabama's United Way, and also Miss Nancy Lipham. She is here serving for two roles, representing in two roles, shall I say. She is a VP and advisor at Wells Fargo Bank, but also the president for Anniston's Rotary Club. So welcome back again. If you're just joining us, before we went to break, we were talking about United Way's big event that's going to be taking place in just a few days from now, a week or so away from now, on August the 14th. Big day of action, and we've been talking about the huge undertaking there. They're going to be specifically addressing hunger in our community. Shannon, before we went to break, you were telling us about this event, how closely aligned United Way and Rotary have been for years. And so it seems only natural now that Rotary would be a part of what we're doing. And when I say we, because I am a Rotarian,
That's right.
but so that just sort of slipped out. But yes, what we're doing with the United Way is huge.
Yes.
Nancy, you mentioned Dale Benton as being our presenting sponsor. that
Dale is such an asset to this community. He is extraordinary. Dale is also a Rotarian, we're very proud to say, but he is the lead sponsor. And it's an honor to work beside Dale.
Yes, and Dale, you mentioned he is a Rotarian, and he is sponsoring this huge event. And when you think about it, I mean, it is a undertaking. How many meals are we going to be working and packing and getting ready for our local pantries?
So the interesting thing about this event is we'll have about 300 volunteers. Unfortunately, all those slots are full because we have a great community that has
Yes,
responded
has already
and wants to
responded.
be there. But we will package 50,000 meals for our local food pantries.
50,000 meals.
And the kicker is we'll do all of that in about 3 hours.
Whew, how many volunteers again?
300.
300. Where did you find all of these folks?
You know,
Shannon.
they really just come from all across Calhoun County, from, you know, our Greek organizations at Jacksonville State University. We have teams from our local industry in the area. And then we just have individuals that just want to, you know, get together and volunteer and be a part of something kind of bigger than themselves. You know, our local civic clubs, I have to mention Rotary
Yes,
and
Rotary.
Kiwanis and
Absolutely.
yeah, and so not only are they supporting in sponsorship, they're also supporting by coming as a team and helping us pack these meals, 50,000 meals.
50,000 meals.
Right.
Share with me, where will some of these meals, how will they be dispersed and to whom?
And so, you know, this time of the year, believe it or not, you know, our food pantries can begin to get low. You know, we have big drives at the holidays.
Right.
And then they're depleted. And then we have another big drive with our Stamp Out Hunger, with our National Letter Carriers Association, the post office. And then that gets depleted. And so this helps restock those shelves. We'll be sending these to the JSU Student Food Bank, St. Michael's and All Angels Church.
Oh,
They
yes,
do a
they
food
do
distribution.
a lot for the community. Yes.
Our Second Chance Domestic Violence Shelter, the Salvation Army.
Yes.
You know, just lots of great organizations that need this food on their shelves.
You know, and a lot of times people, sometimes if you're not impacted by a need like that, being hungry, a lot of times you can you can be oblivious that there are people out here that really are suffering. And I've heard people even say many times they have said to me, you know, girl, look at these people in this line. Look at they've got their carts stacked with food and steaks, and look at them, and they're using their EBT card. They're eating better than me, but they don't realize a lot of times that those EBT cards, it's still not enough. It's not enough to take them through the entire month.
Well, and not only that, you know, we know Piedmont Benevolence Center, they will be one of the recipients of some of this food. And, you know, they're in the Piedmont area, which is high poverty. And a lot of what they face is senior citizens on very low income. And, you know, they just don't have enough to make it through the month. And so the third week, the third Saturday of every month, they do a food distribution, and primarily they do it on the third Saturday to try to get them to the next month with their food. You know, and the thing about it is we're all human beings. We live in the greatest country in the world, the land of plenty, and there is just no reason for anyone to be hungry.
It's not. It's just really not. You know. And when we come back, I want to talk. I want to share with the viewers some stories and things that I've heard and things that I've seen, because people are impacted by hunger. As we mentioned before we went to break, it's a pretty high number. Right here in Calhoun County, I think we're right at 20% of people living in poverty. So, of course, they are going to be impacted with these issues of being hungry. When we come right back, though, we're going to talk more about some issues of people suffering from hunger. We'll be right back with more Local Matters. Don't go away. Hey everybody, welcome on back to Local Matters, where living local never felt so good. I am so happy to be sitting here with the director of East Central Alabama United Way, Mr. Shannon Jenkins, and also Miss Nancy Lipham. She's here. She is here as Anniston's Rotary Club's president for this year, and I am so happy to say that we are talking about the big day of action that United Way is going to be undertaking in just a few more days. August the 14th is a big day, and it's being sponsored by Benton Nissan. Mr. Dale Benton has really been taking this on as a presenting sponsor. This is huge. While we were at break, we were talking about this forming teams, the team alliance that you decided to say, let's really tackle some issues in our community by forming teams. We've got civic organizations like Rotary being involved. And it sort of reminds me, I worked for a company a few years ago, an organization, shall I say, Hands on Atlanta. And they have teams all over the country. They have Hands on Birmingham, Hands on Chattanooga, and that's how they're able, though, to specifically address challenges in big cities by forming teams. So we were always comfortable with going, maybe calling on Coca-Cola, Delta, and they would send out hundreds of people. So this is what this sort of reminds me of.
Absolutely.
Putting together and having this sort of alliance with Rotary, who has always sort of now, we've just learned at the top of the show, had this relationship with the United Way. Nancy, is this your first year working with the United Way, actually hands-on?
No, this is actually my second, Dottie. Last year was great fun. I remember we were sitting in a board meeting for Rotary last year, and the idea came up, why don't we sponsor the United Way Day of Action? Jonathan Mosley, who I think is also on your board, was there, and we took that and we ran with it. So the Noon Rotary Club last year supported the Day of Action.
Okay.
This year, not only are we supporting it, but also the Morning Rotary Club is supporting the Day of Action as well,
Right.
which is very exciting to us.
Right.
You know, I think when we get there and we see other Rotarians and we're standing side by side,
Yes.
and you're putting this food in bags for someone to actually eat who needs it, it is a great feeling of camaraderie, Dottie. You must feel absolutely incredible on that day to see this food being processed, put into boxes once it's bagged, and be shipped out.
Yes. I mean, Rotarians, what is our slogan? Service what?
Service above self.
So
Yes.
it's nothing new. That's what the Rotarians do. But it's good to see Rotarians out
Absolutely.
working and packaging food, because you know what, the challenge is, and I always say the struggle is real. When I say the struggle is real no matter what it is, whether if you're living in poverty, the struggle is real. I had a young lady call me. This is a couple of months ago, and she doesn't really know me. She just said, "I know you from being on Local Matters, a host of Local Matters." And she said, "I'm calling you because I need your help." And I said, "What's going on?" And I think I shared the story with Shannon. She said that her food stamp card had been depleted or had been cut off. Her daughter, I think, had taken a job, but the daughter didn't work the job long enough. But she left the position, but she forgot to go down and report it to her social worker there. And I don't know the actual ins and out of what happened, but she didn't turn in paperwork, and they cut her food stamps off. And so she was living with her mother, and there are 4 children in that home. So when the mother called me and said, "I need your help," she said, "I have my 4 grandkids here with me and my daughter, and we don't have any food." And she was in tears. It broke my heart. It literally broke my heart that she didn't have anything to eat. And she said, "We've been to different shelters. We've been getting up, going." And when you are faced with something like that, you learn the times and the places of where to go that you can get a good meal. And she said, "And we've been doing this now for about a week." She said, "But I don't know what else to do." And my heart broke. I literally got all the information I needed to get. And I called places of employment, and I called DHR and talked with them. And I sent her over to St. Michael's, and we got some things done there. But I will say this, that within a day or so after I talked with DHR, her food stamp card was back. It was back loaded. she called me and thanked me, and you would have thought that I had given her $1 million. My heart was just like this. It was like I felt like I had done something so big. It just made me feel so good. The people are actually suffering out here, Shannon.
And you know, some folks just need an advocate. They really do. They have reached their bottom. They are overwhelmed. They have a lot of burdens on their shoulder, and they just need an advocate that can help them navigate through to get their situation better. You know, the other thing I would mention too is, you know, we have children that you know, they don't choose where they're born. They don't choose what part of town they're born in. You know, we have folks dealing with mental illness, with no access and nowhere to go. You know, there are a lot of circumstances out there that causes somebody to be in poverty, that causes someone to be hungry. And what I always say is it's really easy to group a lot of folks together and judge a number of people, but if you knew their name and you
That's
put
right.
them in front of you and you heard their stories, it would change your heart. And my heart breaks for them too.
Yeah.
I know
That's
exactly
why when
what
she
you
called
mean.
me, there was no way. I said, I said, give me the names, numbers, and I got on that phone. And when she called me back and said my food stamp card was loaded, I was jumping up for joy because now I felt like, whew, there's no way I can go to sleep and not. And it's when this woman is calling me and crying because they need, you know, they need food in the home. Big day of action again, August the 14th. How many meals again?
50,000.
50,000 that the Rotarians will be there, and so many other civic organizations
Yes.
too will be
Absolutely.
down at the Oxford Civic Center. There it is on the screen, the Day of Action, United Way Day of Action at the Oxford Civic Center from 8 to 12. That's what's going to be going on. So if you just happen to drive by and say, ooh, what's going on down there? That's what's going to be happening in Oxford. And I can't wait to get my blue t-shirt and get on down there and see what we can package together and
right.
really make a dent in our community.
And can I say,
Yes.
if you can't be a part of this day, that doesn't mean you can't help.
That's right.
There are food pantries, there are shelters, there are plenty of places that you can take some canned goods and donate and help with this same cause. Contact United Way. We'll make sure it gets to the right place where it can be used.
All right, and I want to thank again our big presenting sponsor, Benton Nissan, for making this happen, and all of us
Absolutely.
for getting out there and really rolling up our sleeves and making it happen. I want to thank you for watching Local Matters. You know why? Because if it's local, it matters. Bye-bye.